Well, I'm honored to have Skrilla with us today. Skrilla, thanks for joining us on the Exploring the Vintage NFT podcast with Zero G.
Hey, Zero G, thanks for having me. Thanks to Pepe.WTF for all y'all do.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Really, like I said, really excited to have you on here. You're a super influential artist in the Pepe community, created a bunch of really iconic and distinctive Pepe. So I'm looking forward to diving in. First off, I just wanted to kind of let's talk about you and your background. So before we get into the art, so half of this whole NFT space is what it rides on, which is crypto. So how did you first discover crypto, and what excited you about it?
I discovered it a few different times early on before I jumped in, but I think in 2012, my roommate was living with a Bitcoin miner who also worked at the CIA. And, this is in Arlington, Virginia, where a lot of people like that live. And he kind of put us onto it. And we immediately kind of after my roommate or my buddy told me about it, I was super interested in it. And we actually started a kind of a PayPal type situation to accept all in the back. It never got released or anything, but to accept Bitcoin for goods and all this stuff. And then that was when Bitcoin was really cheap. I think it was like $11 or something, or it might have gone up to like $30. But then we stopped it because my other friend had a girlfriend who was a bank manager, and she was like, "Oh no, this isn't going anywhere." We had a meeting about it, and da da da. And next thing you know, the Bitcoin price went up to like $200 or something, and we were just like, "Oh shit! Well, we missed our chance." And I just kind of forgot about it for like a year, and then I started hearing about the Silk Road a lot, and that really got me involved, because not as a user of the Silk Road, but I'm a hip hop producer, and I have a lot of like niche work that I've done in hip hop, where like stories and stuff. So I wanted to make an album about something. So the Silk Road kind of resonated with me, and so I wanted to dig in deeper, and I kind of did like a basically like I dove into what Silk Road was, and I made an album about it, and it kind of became an album, kind of like a soundtrack to the dark web at the time. And I released it, I started in 2013. I released it at the end of 2014 through Foundation Media. And I wanted to learn how to sell it for Bitcoin. That was a big thing. And there was not a lot of avenues. There was like a couple of libertarian, like country music type things that were trying to do it. And it was nothing that was like really that peak. I couldn't figure it out, basically. Like I was still a noob. And so I kind of like got out of it for a second there, but was still like looking into it all. And then in 2015, like a few months later, is when I really like dove in. A friend of mine called me and told me the stock market was about to crash, and he had all this like chatter on the dark web, and I needed to get into this, that, and he was telling me about altcoins and all this shit. So I went and bought Bitcoin. Me and my buddies went and bought a bunch of Bitcoin, or not a bunch, but like I remember the first time I bought it, it took like 4 hours to buy it, and I think I spent it was like $210 a coin, and that was my first entrance into it. And then I started shitcoining heavy like right after that, and my first altcoin was Redcoin, and I was using some defunct wallet that called Kryptonator or something like that. I think it was some kind of scam wallet, and I learned a lot early on about that. So that's when I got in. I'd say like I got in 2014, kind of like the culture of it, 2013, 14, but it wasn't until 2015 where I really started like putting my money into it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, and it sounds like it's really intertwined with your what you're trying to do as an artist too. So yeah, so you picked up some alts and some Bitcoin. So how long did it take you to really realize after you got it in your wallet? How long did it take you to kind of realize the potential, or realize that you wanted to actually do art with that, or that art was possible?
Pretty early on, because when I was heavy in the Poloniex exchange back then, and a lot of guys, there's a famous troll box in there, and I honestly think like that troll box was like, you know, before they shut it down, like I think I was in there at least like a year or two straight. Just it was like a university learning about not just crypto, but internet culture and memes and everything. Really, I was into memes, but not in the same way that I
Mhm.
did after I graduated from the troll box for real. Like that it hardened you like really on a lot of stuff. Um, so I learned about Ethereum right away and Counterparty, and I was, actually super like I grew a beard like down to
Mhm.
my almost my bottom of my chest, and
Mhm.
my hair went crazy, and I was like a recluse just learning about this stuff straight from like 2015, 16. Um, I all but abandoned my music career, and I actually started drawing a lot then. Like I
Mhm.
stopped drawing for many years, so I was doing music so long, and that's when I actually started drawing again. So when I was collecting, what was the currency for Spells of Genesis? There was a
Oh yeah, they
token.
had that gems or something, or
Well, there was gems too. There was a few ones, but
okay.
bit crystals. So had
Yeah.
bit crystals, and I was speculating on that, and it never did anything. And Spells of Genesis never really like did it for me. But it was when the Pepes came out, and I saw like some guys, like some of the mods, and some of like it was like Ground Beef Taxi, which is now Robness, and Dan Darkpill, and
Mhm.
Theo. This is on Twitter also. I had like an alt trading account on Twitter that shit posts and all that. So when I started hearing about that, it took me a little bit to get in. I started hearing about it right away, Series 1, but it wasn't until about Series 2 that I got into the chat. And you know, after that, it was all frogs. I mean, literally, like, I went crazy. I spent like 6 months straight just like drawing frogs and living in that Telegram chat, and kind of just like, we were all just like going nuts because Bitcoin kind of went sideways, took a little dip, and
Mhm.
altcoins really crashed. I remember it was what was that shit coin? Um, damn, it's escaping me now. But it had a big speculative market, and in October it crashed hard, and it just like brought the whole market down.
And
And
there's so many of those altcoins just, and I remember that time too, because yeah, Bitcoin kind of just stagnated for over a year, really.
mhm.
So
Yeah, and like in that 2016, there was a push up a little bit. It went from like 200 to like 350 or something. Like, so people started getting a little excited. Maybe even went to 400. I don't know, but then it dropped down a little bit, and really altcoins crashed it hard. And then it was like beginning of 2016 when Mike Hearn rage quit, and that's actually when um, that's when I went all in on Bitcoin. When I saw Mike Hearn rage quit and like the price drop, I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is the time to buy. And
mhm.
that was yeah. So that was all part of that time. Like, you'll even see the Rare Pepe cards as
Yeah, that my
there's a
current card. Yeah.
my current card. Like the memory chain also celebrated it, which is, I'm sure you talk about those culturally relevant, significant things in Pepe is what really make the collection.
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess backing up a little bit too. So when did you start getting into music and into drawing initially? Were you doing that as a kid?
Yeah, I was always into art as a kid.
Mhm.
Like my mom will tell you, like my first published piece was when I was 5. I had a couple of pieces published in the paper in Florida,
Oh,
but
cool.
really, I didn't take it seriously. I was an art major for like the first semester in college, and I was a kind of a bum, honestly, at that age. I was just wilding out,
Mhm.
wasn't really doing much with it, and I messed around with graffiti and all that stuff. But really, what took over was DJing at that time, and I became a producer. Shortly after that, I started running record labels. I started managing artists. I was just knee deep in all that. So it's so funny. I never did any of my art for any of the projects back then.
Mhm.
I just abandoned drawing for pretty much. But I always doodled, and like if I'm on the phone, like I'll have like a page of doodles afterwards. Like that's always been a thing, but I never thought of it as art. And then, um, you know, music, when I started learning crypto and I kind of started like abandoning music a little bit at that point, just going head into crypto. And at the same time, my son was coming of age where I saw that he had skills in art. So I actually started helping him draw. And that's when I really got back into art. And, you know, it was probably like 2014 or so. And yeah, after that, I mean, when I had the opportunity to, actually, I was doing a lot of, yeah, from like 2013, 14, 15, I was doing a lot of local and East Coast, like regional, like record cover designs, cover art for a lot of people. Um, so that's kind of what got me into it. And then when the Pepes came out, that's when I just went full fledged. And crypto art itself, after that, like I saw the opportunity where I could like, you know, because I'd worked as a graphic designer right out of, so also I went to an art school for a year after college, you know, after I kind of got my shit back together in my early 20s. And I learned graphic design, you know, Photoshop, web stuff, and Illustrator and all that stuff. Again, I banded it for years, but I still knew it. And, you know, that's when, I forget where I was saying with that, but that's where that all came back like clockwork. Like when I saw like the crypto art and music and what you could attach to tokens and have this idea. Oh, that's what I was saying. So I had a graphic design job straight out of college, and it lasted less than 2 weeks. I hated it. I hated drawing for other people. Like I wanted to draw my own stuff, and like, you know, and I never got encouragement from like my art teachers, like, oh, you're gonna be a star, like any of that shit. So, you know, I had a lot more encouragement as a musician. But then when I saw that you could start drawing your own stuff and, you know, being early helped too, because there wasn't a lot of this. So, you know, I could kind of like hone my skills and just kind of release the stuff. And it just worked out where I just fell in love with it. Like fell in love with drawing again, fell in love with art again. And, you know, just kind of, again, just became a new path in my career that I just took the bull by the horns, I think.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, that I know I'm personally like I'm interested in learning some of these skills now too. I'm working with an artist to like create a submission for a fake rare myself, but I mean, longer term, I'd like to be able to, you know, to create some of these myself. But I totally get you about the passion about this stuff. Once I kind of like wrapped my head around the around Rare Pepes. I'd seen them a few times last year, and then it didn't really hit me how significant they were in terms of, in a similar sense, I've come across, and I have a couple of the spells of Genesis, but you know, the fact that Rare Pepes are, you know, a community-driven, like decentralized art project is just has such a totally different vibe about it. It's amazing. You have the range of artwork from, you know, like trash art all the way to these incredible pieces, you know, to from like Futures Pepe, all these great artists that produce really killer artwork. I don't know, it's an amazing project. So you know, and fake rares are kind of picking up that torch now. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's fun to collect, and it's really exciting to learn the history too. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the big part of the Rare Pepes, I think, is that it's a decentralized art community. And like, you know, the original Rare Pepes started collectors as well as, you know, there's always been decentralized art communities in the, you know, around the world in the past, but this was the first one to put all on the blockchain and kind of have this like thing that other people had little ideas, little sprinkles, you know, you got your name coin and your
yeah.
Ethereum stuff and all that stuff that spells of Genesis, but this was like honed in on the artist making whatever they wanted and putting it out there. And when I say whatever they want, obviously it had to be within Pepe form, but that was kind of like the intrigue also, is like the Pepe was like this unique canvas medium of art on the internet, like digital art that, you know, is almost like, you know, I guess like almost how like the Renaissance period, you know, use Jesus and Mary and everybody. It's like we, you know, not the same way, because you're not going to make crazy Jesus pieces back then. You get hung probably, but you know, you use Pepe for whatever reason, you know, this memetics, and it's just people are drawn to the frog in the use of emotion with it, I think.
And it's amazing that, you know, to this day, as we're talking, you know, Pepe is still the de facto, like it's the de facto standard for meaning and expressing emojis on all these Discord and Telegram chats across the internet. There's a Discord server that all it does is by joining it gives you access to their, you know, emojis and little icons, and that has over it's over, I think, is it 500,000 members just for that, you know, just to allow people to do that. It's amazing. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's you know, so Pepe has been you know, it's a staggering force out there in the online space. It continues to be so. Well, I guess this is a good time to start. We can start talking about your cards too. So pulling up your my screen, I'm pulling up your well, before we get into your OG Rare Pepes, I know that I know that your Genesis piece was that 2 Live Pepe. Let's talk about that.
So so that's like my first card that I did, and it ended up being divisible, and I think it was a little bit too racy for the card because it had butt cheeks on it for the series. I tried to submit it in series 2. Like that's the first thing when I joined the chat. I don't even think I said hi. I think I just dropped that card and was like, "What's up? Can I get this in the directory?" And I remember Theo being like a fan of it, but they put it into like the side channel, I think, and they were like, "Oh no, it's I think it's too sexual content," and it was also divisible. So yeah, that was the first time I minted a token. I really liked that card because you know, as a young kid, 2 Live Crew was like one of my like favorites. I really liked how they were like brash and banned in the USA. Like, you know, they had police coming and shutting down their concerts because they were like performing sexual acts on stage, and Uncle Luke was just a nut. And it reminded me of Pepe's because, you know, around that time people were, you know, calling them alt-right and all that stuff. And I kind of just married the essence of it, that, you know, you can do whatever you want. And that was the feeling. So, you know, actually on that card, I'm most proud of the copy on that card because I think I like I just like how it's just very Florida, I think, Corvette yacht. And
oh yeah, I see that in the background.
Going away for a crime you didn't commit against a Pepe you never met. And funny enough, at that time I was writing a lot for like Hacker Noon, and I was doing a lot of Medium stuff. So like I used to do a lot of writing as well.
Okay.
So I put, you know, that was kind of, I think, chiming into that essence of my art. But yeah, to get into fake rares was cool. I can't remember how I got into fake rares. I don't remember who torched it in there, but yeah, so that's kind of the, you know, part of the essence of fake rares is reaching back to some of the older assets that were either not on a set, you know, just random, like OE's card, or cards that were just declined for whatever reason, and bringing them back and resurrecting them as like, you know, Rare Pepes.
That's cool. Yeah. It anyway, I always thought that that 2 Live Pepe, after I saw it, it's just a really striking card. I really love it too.
Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't know it was divisible though, so that makes sense too. That and that was the first time you created a token, so that's yeah.
And that's for whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, in Free Wallet, it's automatically, you have to change it.
Yeah.
Divisibility. I can't remember what I made that in Counter Wallet.
Okay.
And I don't remember how that function was. I'm sure it was probably default as well.
Yeah, I just for the first time created a few tokens last week too in Free Wallet to see how that process works. So yeah, you definitely have to make sure that you make it non-divisible. So, yeah. So let's start with Pepe Goat. That's a great card too.
Yeah. So that right after that got denied, I was like, oh, I got to get a card in. So I tried to get it into series 2. It was towards the end of the series 2, and it ran out, and it became card 1 in series 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it because the guy Goat in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
he was helping me kind of understand how to make it. I don't know. He walked me through some steps. I remember.
Okay.
That's I kind of just gave him shine some light on his name, and then
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, the goat to me in hip hop, or like he was known as the goat, was Jay-Z.
Yeah.
So I just married the two, and yeah, that's pretty much that card. And again, like the copy on that, I just took a bunch of his songs and made copy out of his song titles
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
again, like, I didn't do much art. You could tell like those first two cards, the first few cards I didn't do a lot of drawing stuff. It was more just
Yeah.
memeing it together, like kind of trash.
Uh-huh.
It's another thing. Like trash art was definitely a thing, that came
Mm-hmm.
in super rare and rareable. But
Mm-hmm.
I do believe we were making like early trash art
Yeah.
because we were just marrying these images, like stolen images, repurposed images
Yeah.
together for our stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you see, throughout Rare Pepe's kind of an evolution of different art styles too. That's something I was talking to Indelible about is that he was as he started submitting cards, he was learning like the tricks that people were using to create kind of that trashy low res like glitched out look, which is I didn't know that was an intentional choice until I talked to him. That's really fascinating. I just thought it was some like because it had to be a certain size or something. But it's interesting they went out of his way to do that. This cool.
That is part of it too. Like so that's another thing. Like the
Mhm.
size restriction was very, very restrictive early on, especially like I think it was 1 megabyte at first. Then it moved to 3 megabytes, and then it moved to 10, I think. But yeah, it was 1 megabyte that you had to get your card down to. It's like
Yeah.
you look at like Theo's eggplant Pepe, it's
Yeah.
3-frame GIF because he became known for like the 3-frame GIF throughout his collection.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was that restrictive. So when did they bump up the file size restrictions?
I'm a little hazy on it, but
Yeah.
I remember I'm pretty sure it was 1 megabyte when I first came in, and then I think shortly after, maybe I'm just guessing like series 5, 6, it might have gone to like 3.
Okay.
And then I think later on, maybe when they reopened it, like after series 20, it might have gone to 10 megabytes. Don't quote me on that though.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
yeah, awesome. Yeah, good to know. That's a neat piece of history there. And again, it's interesting how that influences the art as well. Those technical limitations.
yeah, and
So
I'm a fan of working within
Mhm.
constraints too. Like I like that. Like
Mhm.
sometimes you have to make art with like certain constraints. Like so I think that's a period of time. Those first 3 or 4 series,
Mhm.
definitely like you're seeing artists work within constraints of file size for sure.
Yeah, it forces you to be creative in a new way, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, so your next card is I mean, it's an amazing card, the Pepe Million. And I know you have a story around that too, right?
Yeah, it was the same thing. Like I just kind of ran with like, look, you see the first few cards at least like were all hip hop based, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a certain copy to it that kind of takes like their song stuff, and I just
Mm-hmm.
repurposed it to Pepe's. Um, and like that was the thing. Like people were talking about becoming like a Pepe Cash million. That was the thing. Like to get a million Pepe Cash back then
Okay, it was a
was like
thing.
a thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're not a Pepe Cash millionaire yet, ha ha. Which it was super cheap. Like
Yeah.
cheap. It was like $300 to get a Pepe Cat to get a million Pepe Cash
Okay,
events.
cool.
So that was just celebrating that, and it's funny because we memed it into existence where it's
Mm-hmm.
like eventually that card sells for $1 million plus after
Mm-hmm.
many years, and um, that the story on that card is just that it's like another iconic rap group and Pepe and them out and kind of taking their bling bling style
Mm-hmm.
and putting it towards Pepe Cash.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that being a Pepe Cash millionaire was kind of a thing that you guys were memeing about back in the day. That's funny.
Yeah. for sure.
So I know that this is, they didn't lock down the minimum issuance until later. How did you decide to do these low issuance, or why did you decide the low issuance, and how did you decide to distribute those too? Because they're so, again, you only have that Pepe Million we're talking about only has 5 supply.
Yeah, that one I think is because in the card, I don't know why I made that 5, to be honest with you. Like I was gonna say there's 5 characters, but I think there's 4.
There's 4, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I know that the goat one I did because 99 problems and it was 99 issuance. Yeah, I have no idea, because even this one, like it wasn't like a cash grab thing, because I sold them. I sold all 4 4 of the 5 very quick for peanuts. I mean, I think I sold, like, Theo used to run auctions, and I think I sold all of them, the first 4 anyway, through his auctions, which I think they ran, like I might have gotten $5 to $50 for each card at that time. Theo has a funny Telegram chat that he saved, that he's shared before, where he kind of shows that how cheap those cards went in the auction. So yeah, it was a good come up for them. And the funny thing about those early cards, before we knew, like, we all knew that this was like a thing, like we were doing some kind of historic thing. We didn't know how big or how fast it would get for real like this, but the idea was to get rid of the cards. Like I wanted to like sell them and get rid of them and get on to the next one. Because as an artist and musician, my whole thing was always, when you made stuff, you wanted to sell it and you wanted to give it and have people have it showcased in their house or whatever. You didn't want to make art and just hang it in your house. So that was kind of my idea at the time. And it's changed since then. I believe that artists should definitely hang on to at least like 10 or 20% of their cards for a while. That's kind of the XCP royalty. That's not built in, but that's how you ensure that if they ever go up in value, that you can always catch that value. But I wasn't doing that then.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm kind of looking at it in a similar way, where I think part of the way that a lot of these significant cards have become influential is the fact that they've circulated, right? And again, not to say that artists can't hold back some for yourself, but by some of these cards, when you see they have 60, 70, 90 supply in the artist's wallet, it scares people from even trying to buy them too. So it's kind of a self-defeating cycle there for it to actually distribute any further too.
Yeah, that's true. And and it's hard actually when you make, like, when you're a really prolific Pepe artist, it's actually sometimes, back then anyway, like there's new resources to do that now, but it was hard to kind of juggle all the cards and sell them and distribute them, because you're moving on to the next one. So like you might have gotten rid of, like, I don't know, 50 of your 150 cards, and it's like, all right, now you're on to the next one. You're not even thinking about.
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of why I think you see a lot of that. Like I'm guilty of it myself. I have half the supply of, at least like 5 or 6 of my cards, I think. And that just, they're usually ones that are like 300 or 700, issuance. But yeah, we weren't thinking about that back then, to be honest with you. Now it's more of a thing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, because, these were put out in such quick succession back then,
Yeah, they're very quick. They came quick. The series came very quick. And then you had to pause the series. Like there was always like a pause, like what they call let it bake. So like bye mom. So you'd see like I think like after every series there was at least like a 2-week bake, because that's what it's called, like let the cards bake and let the cards distribute and all that stuff, because they came quickly out.
Interesting. Yeah, so speaking of low supply, the next one listed is your RICFLAIRPEPE, which is one of my favorites. It's such a great card.
Yeah, that card celebrated I think a meme about Ric Flair talking about how he banked Halle Berry. So I just mean that. I've always been a wrestling fan, especially old wrestling, and Ric Flair. I met Ric Flair one time, and he's a character, and I just had to put him out there. And that story was hot on the internet that week that came out. And I made 3 of them. And I put the first 2 up on auction, and the 2 of them sold for, I remember it was 18 XCP for 2 of them selling. I was super disappointed even then. I was like, damn, I was like, that's kind of, it was like a low, it was not many people in the auction that day, and just gotta live with it. And I held one for a while, and you know, a year or something. I sold another one later, but yeah, that, and the guy that bought those 2 Pepes, he's not to be heard from. I have no idea where he is, if he's around. I've tried to look for him. I tried to get a card back. I'd love to get one of those cards back. Need Money has the other one, so he's impossible. He's like diamond hand collector of all time. So I don't know if that card's gonna see much distribution.
Is that wallet active? Do you know the one that got those 2 cards?
No, it's not. I thought I saw him in like this historic NFT chat recently, because I know the guy who bought it was also a musician, and we were both in Tokenly, like early Token FM stuff, like beta testing it. And I thought maybe it was him, but I messaged him and it wasn't him. The guy had the same name and just happened to be a musician, but I don't know where the guy's at, or the guy's just fibbing and it is him. And he doesn't want to tell me it's him.
I don't know. That's one of my man. It's one of my favorite cards. So I totally feel you there. I mean, that's got to be a grail to get one of those, and especially for you as the creator to get one back would be awesome.
Yeah, I missed that card. I've actually tossed around the idea of issuing a sub asset from there, where like I can distribute it, just like, but so busy with stuff, I haven't gotten to that. Who knows if I will. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting story. Sorry that you weren't able to get one back. Maybe with as Pepes are getting a little bit more press, maybe this owner will come out of the woodwork. My hope is that it's not a lost wallet.
Yeah.
There there is probably a decent supply that's just lost forever due to again, like you were saying, this guy bought it for 18 XCP or something, which I don't know what XCP was rolling for back then, but it was.
I think I remember thinking I made like $50.
Yeah. So I mean, again, there's like people were using these soft wallets back then, and people do calculus if they're moving or if they have a computer problem. I mean, they've got like $100 worth of assets at the time on their PC hard drive. So you could see why they wouldn't bother to recover that or pull the hard drive, and they just throw it away, or hard drives crash and they didn't keep backups. So
yeah, and a lot of Pepes, like we want to distribute them, so like we get our friends that weren't into crypto and just be like send it to them, and then obviously they're like not recording the passphrase either, because they're like, what the hell is this? These aren't worth anything, and I don't care about it.
Oh, that's bad. So the next card that we've got lined up in your OGs is the Rare Pepe sneaker. That's super cool, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, that one was just a play on the Rare Pepe card. I made 300 of them basically, so Rare Pepe could have shoes. Like that was like the meme on that one.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he was shoeless otherwise. So I kind of shielded like that. Like if you wanted to get your Rare Pepe some shoes, you gotta own this card. And I'm not necessarily a sneakerhead, but I definitely have been a fan of sneakers, and especially like Nikes and Jordans and Air Force Ones and Dunks and for years. So I kind of just incorporated that shoe and Michael Jordan. So I spelled it that way because the R really is silent. It's Air Pepe, but Rare Pepe.
Oh, okay.
So I made it a lowercase r, I think, in a lot of the text I did. And
okay.
Yeah, that was just basically like a shoe card. And I'm actually now with a team of people, we've been working for the past 6 months on releasing wearables that are those sneakers for Decentraland and Vox, Crypto Vox. And we also have a guy it's making a physical shoe of it. So eventually those will come out. The wearables are ready to go. We're now just experimenting with kind of cross chain stuff of how to like, if you own the card, you get the shoe, and how if you sell the card, the shoe transfers or whatever. So that's kind of what we're working on now with that.
Well, that's awesome. And the same thing for the metaverse stuff. Is that going to be tied to the OG asset as well?
Well, that's what we're tying to. The actual shoe, I'm just I'm got a sample being made that then on the side what to do. I don't think they'll be tied to the shoe, the card, but definitely if you know, I don't want to shill it like this is definitely happening, but they're made. The wearables are made. We're ready to go. Shout out to KBO Metaverse. He actually made the shoe on his own accord. He just made the shoe and sent it to me one day. It's like, dude, like I want to do something with this, give them to you. And I was like, oh man, this is great. Let's try to tie it to the asset. And so working with a couple of people that are, you know, more dev people that are, you know, working on making it a real cool thing. And there's actually some groundbreaking stuff they're working on with it. So I don't want to give it away yet, but hopefully it works out. We're trying to make it so it's like an actual shoe in the metaverse that, you know, can get scuffed and all that type of stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
I do love the one of the details I really love about that is the 3 green candles on the shoes too. Thought that was pretty rad.
Yeah, and so like that's actually funny that you bring that up. Is I've tried to incorporate those shoes and that athletic wear, the Rare Pepe, in almost all of my art, like that uses that type of athletic wear shoes. Even up to now, I've probably done at least 30 pieces where that shoe or like that athletic wear is in the art. So I try to keep that Easter egg going.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's exciting news on the Rare Pepe. I'm looking forward to seeing what how that bakes out. I own 2 of those myself, so
nice.
So
yeah, the idea is that if you own one, you'll get it, and then if you buy I'll read. I have half the distribution, so that's why I haven't sold any actually since Rare Pepes took back off, just because I'm waiting for this shoe to get done, and then we'll distribute it accordingly.
Yeah. So yeah, the next card is probably your most famous, which is DJPEPE.
Yeah. So those cards. The DJPEPE is the first card in the hip hop series set. And I actually made that card because obviously I'm a DJ and I was like, we need a DJ. And I was in the Telegram chat, always like sharing music, hip hop music and stuff like that. So big, and also we were at that time, so early, funny enough, the Biggie Pepe that Sean Leary made, we tried to make that the first music token. He actually, I did music for it, and we were going to put a QR code on it, and that's how you were going to, you know, do it. You know, you scan the QR code and it takes you to a link. But then Rare Pepes was like, you can't do QR codes. Even a scientist couldn't do it. So that got shot down, and so we were still trying to figure out a way to do that. And I put out DJPEPE, and you know, immediately contacted Joe, and you know, it wasn't when the card came out. It wasn't like you had the bonus content right away. It took I think it took 3 weeks. I want to say, I'm guessing, but I think it took around 3 weeks or so before we went through like YouTube, Bandcamp, and all types of different player models back then of how to like make this like private access page. And finally we came up with just like a private SoundCloud page and linked the music to it. So yeah, DJPEPE was kind of like my alter ego card. You know, as a DJ, you drink a lot and you're partying, and that's kind of what I turned it into a character, which you see behind here. I've had him at many conferences, you know, crypto art and Bitcoin related conferences. He shows up there. I've had, you know, he was, I think probably the first crypto art token that was like had its own dedicated Twitter account. Oh, cool. And its own personality. It's, you know, DJPEPE spoke at the Rare AF Festival in January 2018, where I was supposed to speak, but the last minute, a friend of mine and Joe Looney came up with, you know, gave me the idea like, yo, why don't you just have, because I had brought the cardboard cutout to come on stage with me, but I was like, they were like, you should just have him speak. So like 10 minutes before I was supposed to go on, I told the sound guys like, yo, just give me the microphone. I'm going to go hide behind the curtain. And I put the cardboard cutout. You can see it. I think it's pinned to my profile page on DJPEPE's page, but he actually did the speaking. So that kind of was like a moment that I think DJPEPE, you know, kind of became like a legend in the Pepe world. And yeah, I've always tried to like make DJPEPE some kind of character. Like I've issued, you know, a ton of sub assets through DJPEPE, and just use him as like like my main Pepe like card to do things with.
Yeah, cool. It's really it's become one of the most iconic Rare Pepes out there. You know, the fact that it's the first one to tie into music is really rad too. In the picture, is that I think I read somewhere that it was Qbert, right? That you.
Yeah, so that's part of the story too. Is so DJ Qbert is like my favorite like scratch DJ and turntablist, and big fan of his. So I just decided like what DJ was I gonna take? I could have taken a number of DJs as you know I admired at that time. So I chose him, and you know he's got the Scratch Pickle shirt on. You can see it in the back, and you know a lot of the even like I put invisible Scratch Pepes kind of written in graffiti at the bottom of it because his crew is Invisible Scratch Pickles, which you know is another legendary crew. And
yeah, I never was able to read that, so I didn't know that that's what that read at the bottom. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, Invisible Scratch Pepes, and then you know to tie it in, I could probably when we talk about fake DJPEPE, I could probably tie that all together. How that kind of came in with Qbert actually embracing the card, and you know he's a owner and you know self-proclaimed fan of the card himself.
That's awesome. So so the next card from your OGs is MC Pepe, part of this hip hop series.
Yeah, so that one, you know, I made the DJPEPE card, and then I hadn't planned on doing all the elements of hip hop right then, but like right after I made that card, I was like, oh shit, I should just make a whole set of them, and that was the first one I made, and I used Rakim. Because Rakim to me is like the god MC. He's pretty much, you know, especially like '90s rap. Like you know, he came in mid '80s, but especially like '90s rap owes a lot to Rakim. Like even like Nas and everybody came after him. That style of rap that Rakim brought, like before that, people were just mostly rapping like four to the bar type raps, like hip hop, hooray, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of brought in like syllable structure and just like he was killing it. So he was like to me is like he's the greatest MC of all time in many respects because he changed the way modern rap at that. And I think modern rap shifted again in the 2000s, but in that '90s time frame, he's kind of like that. You know, he kind of fathered that style. So I had to give him the MC Pepe. And
that's
you know,
rad.
I'm friends with a lot of rappers, so I kind of just took the wording, you know, all the wording below it, and kind of just used some of that stuff as what I thought would be cool for you know rapper Pepes.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's I also love the looks of that one too. That's great. And so what is the story with Pepe 1?
So Pepe 1 is graffiti Pepe. So like when as a graffiti writer, you write like a lot of times you write ONE or ER at the end of your name. So if your name is like Pepe, it would be Pepe or Pepe 1. So I took the 1, and that's all that was. So like you know, it's funny enough. I made the B-boy Pepe and the graffiti Pepe very quickly right after. I think it was I'm not in front of the computer or in front of X-Chain, but I think I made it the next day.
Yeah, it's card 31 and card 32. So
yeah, they all came out consecutively, but I feel like I might have made them like maybe I made those. I think I made DJPEPE and MC Pepe the night of, and then like the next maybe midday I made those other ones. I was like, oh, let me put the set all together.
Okay, yeah. Did you submit those all at once, or did you submit that as a group, or did you individually submit them one at a time?
Well, they all came out concurrently, so I think I submitted them all at once. I'm not actually sure, or if there was just a lull between submissions, they just happened. I can't remember. But I wished Pepe 1 was better, like in terms of the drawing. Like it's like I actually have the pen. I have a scan copy, I think, of just the marker drawing I drew of it. I kind of like that, but when I colored it in, it's not my favorite style. And I just did it quickly, and I wanted to get it in. I think I wanted to get it in consecutively. Maybe that's why I did it. Anyhow, I put the artwork in the background is some graffiti friends I was, more friends with back then, especially that are pretty well known in New York. Those guys, they actually gave me permission. Like Goal, who's on there? Goal, I think Goal, Kevs, and Ouch, who died. It's a friend of mine. And there's one other person, Echo, and they were all pretty well known. Especially Goal and Echo were really well known graffiti writers back then. So I put their stuff in the background of the Pepe 1, and graffiti artists are really like not about putting themselves out there. It's more about their style. That's why I said never took a selfie. It's kind of like making fun of people that are all in the camera and like just like presenting themselves as like these, I just respect graffiti writers in a way that's different than some other styles of art, because it's like they let the writing doesn't always live that long. Blockchain is perfect for graffiti writers in a lot of ways, because you can let it live on after it disappears. And it's always about their art and the tags and like how they get up, where they get up at, and
taking risks.
Real street art, man. It's like you fight. Like if you're a graffiti writer, you've been in fights. There's no question. Like people fight. It's not like being like a prissy artist. Like graffiti writers are. And I spent a little time writing graffiti when I was younger, but I wouldn't call myself like a graffiti writer. I just more respect it. But I'm friends with a lot of graffiti writers, so I wanted to pay homage to that. But again, man, that's one drawing on there that isn't my favorite, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I always wondered what the inspiration was behind that, and I didn't really connect two and two with the background with all the graffiti there, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and then your next, the final part of that 4-set series is B-Boy Pepe.
Yeah, so that's the fourth element of hip hop, MC, DJ, graffiti, and B-boy, fashion, dancing, breakdancing. So that was just celebrating that. I memed a couple break dancers, or six break dancers, I think, together. And just talked about the style. And like, that's an important element. As a DJ, you want people to like dance, to your stuff. And my style is more, when I DJ, breakdancing, and that's actually the first element of hip hop that I got into. As a kid, I was breakdancing, windmills and backspins and popping and locking and stuff like that. So,
Cool.
As like somebody in hip hop, like you have to experience all four elements, like, and I just wanted to do that with Pepe's and just show like the four elements of hip hop meets Pepe, pretty much.
Yeah, how were those received too? Did these all sell out pretty quickly when you released these? Were these popular at the time?
DJPEPE was pretty popular. MC Pepe's second most popular, and then I can't remember the B-Boy and Pepe won as much popularity when they came out. It was more like they wanted to collect the set, I think. But the DJPEPE and MC Pepe definitely had more popularity.
Yeah, and DJPEPE is super popular to this day. So yeah.
And I've actually started to resurrect the Pepe 1. I released sub-assets of famous graffiti artists, Cess, Arrow, and I got one from Optimus ready to go, where if you hold the Pepe 1 card, you get drops from them. And So I actually did sketchbook drops. They did a Pepe's, and then they went out in the world and actually put Pepe's on the wall. And I'm going to auction those pieces out eventually. But I'm trying to resurrect. I have somebody actually helping me manage that card.
Okay.
That's more in tune with the graffiti scene heavy, and just want to get more like graffiti artists involved with that and release sub assets with it.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and the next card in your lineup is Pepe Shrooms, which is definitely a different style than all your previous ones.
Yeah, was that the first card I drew? I think
it might be. It's the first. I mean, if you outside of Pepe 1, yeah, that's the first hand drawn. It looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the first real one that I spent time like arting it out, and it actually has some of my style in it with like the mazing. Like I do a lot of like, yeah, and
patterns and.
Yeah, exactly. The patterns and all that. You know, in a lot of my art even now, like I use acid tongues and you know shrooms and so I've always been a believer that psychedelics are you know kind of liberating, you know, not if you overused or anything, but so I just wanted to celebrate that, and it's just a fun one. That was one that I gift as well as my second gift. So you know, gifts were coming, like more gifts were coming out at that time. So you know, you had to compete more with cards coming out at that time. So I think that's why I actually spent a little bit more time drawing and getting my gift game down a little bit. And it's, you know, even that's it's not a perfect gift. Like it's funny. It's like, I love that card, but you know, it's like framed out,
yeah,
you know, and, but it's similar to a lot of the gifts that were coming out at that time. You know, again, we had the compression issues at that time too. So you had to keep it under a certain amount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you definitely can't make it nowadays. You know, with Arweave and these other hosting platforms with the fake rares, people have, you know, these huge artworks that are, you know, there's no glitchiness or no, you know, no jank, you know, so.
Yeah. That had definitely, I think that one's good because it definitely keeps some of the jank, but it also has like, it shows my art and it shows kind of like where my art mind was with psychedelics and stuff. And, it's actually that was the first high issuance card, I think. I did 10,000 of them. And I actually, you know, they were actually a very popular card when it was released. Somebody had bought 10% of them right away, like in an auction, I think. And it's been one that I distribute by like giveaways and like friendliness type thing. I've rarely sold outside of that initial drop, I've rarely sold them, I think. I just mostly use them as like a card to get people into Pepe's or whatever.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's yeah, I like the animation on that one. Yeah, and by the way, why did you decide to, because all your previous cards are relatively low issuance, including a couple really low issuance. Why did you decide to bump a few of these up for starting there? What was the idea?
I think because like you needed cards to like give away, you needed cards to trade with, you needed you know, it's important not just to have low issuance cards. Like even now, like the fake rares, like I've made you know, most of the cards are more low issuance by all the artists. But you know, I'm like, I made one with like over 200 because I wanted to have a trade card with people. Like it's like, you know, when you make a card that has like 60 of them or something, you tend to go pretty quick, and then you're left with not many left. And in giveaways, man, like we were doing a lot of giveaways. Like back then, that was right around like the time the Takara app came out, and you could geo drop cards all over the world. So like, you know, we were doing a ton of giveaways, and you know, on Twitter I was giving away and just trying to like, you know, get people into it. And yeah, that's kind of the reasoning for those high issuance ones.
I guess circling back around to something else, you mentioned before, I've heard this, but I didn't know the rationale. So why were the scientists, did they not want QR codes or links in the actual card art? Do you know why?
Because you could change it over eventually. You can change a QR code or what a link, so it could be, you know, hazardous.
Yeah, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then your next card is the Make Pepe Rare, which you know, is obviously a play on the you know, again, back in the time, you know, the whole MAGA thing that was going on with Trump's campaign, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was just a goofy card to
Mhm.
make fun of make America great again and make fun of Hillary Clinton hiding her emails and
Mhm.
just a play on little political play on stuff. I'm actually apolitical. I don't really like celebrate any of the political parties too much.
Yeah.
So that was just that, you know, like, politicians to me are very dirty, and they're just showing that, you know, they hide drugs, hide emails. I forget exactly what the card says, but it was just a play on that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, it's
different emotions of Pepe kind of go through
mhm,
in politics. I think happy, sad,
mhm.
you know, kind of showed that.
Yeah, politics is definitely a dirty game. So yeah.
Yeah, and then, like the "Make America Great Again" hats were a super like crazy thing back then,
Mhm,
in that exact time moment. So I just want to make like a giant red hat where you can hide things in kind of like
yeah.
a goofy way.
Mhm. That's cool. Yeah. And your next card is Run DMP, which is that's one of my favorites that you've made too. That's super sick.
Yeah, I think that's like when I started actually stylizing my cards a little bit more, and like
Mhm.
I did a lot of like the drawings of hip hop characters, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was a fun one to make and put out. It definitely like it broke the card format entirely for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd done a couple, I guess I did that, but that one, you know, at the time also like taking that meme Run
Mhm.
DMC
Yeah.
in all types of fashion and stuff was a big thing. Like people were just memeing it,
Mhm.
period. So I just decided to meme that into Pepe's. Um,
And this is what he was referring to, is if you can't see the card now, is that this is the first card that doesn't have the traditional border style that the rest of the cards do. So it's kind of full frame.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you're yeah, so that's a sick card, and it also has a little subtext at the bottom, brought to you by Rare Pepe too. So keeping that
Yeah,
going.
yeah, that's where I think I started bringing that into the
Mhm.
fold on those cards. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and your next card is Pepe the Troll. And is this referencing a specific troll, or is this, or what's the story on this one?
No, it's just like, you know, 4chan
Yeah.
trolls, just how I kind of like
Mhm.
sometimes I picture 4chan trolls as this like very dangerous, fat, like always eating takeout food, not leaving the house, and just mad computer screens. And, you know, like you've got to respect those trolls. Like I think I made it,
Mhm.
I don't think I wasn't making fun of it. It was more just like, you know, I think that, you know, usually they don't have a lot of exercise. So I'm just making it kind of like that type of thing with his fatness. But he's also wearing the Rare Pepe shoes. He has a Rare Pepe shirt on. He
Mhm.
has all the meme posters in the background.
Mhm.
Um, I put the Run DMP poster in there, kind of like as like it started doing my Easter eggs
Mhm.
more in that series. Yeah, I really like the Pepe the Troll card, like the way that came out. One thing I don't like is that it, you know, the compression on it kind of doesn't leave the detail too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so
It
uh,
it almost seems blurry in the way it's presented because of that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, you know, on the screen, like
Mhm.
I used to run contests with that card too. That was like a little higher issuance card
Mhm.
too, 777, which that the number also is the meme with that card,
Mhm.
because people were trying to get consecutive numbers of 777 on 4chan
Oh, okay.
uh, during Trump's run and stuff like that. Like that was like a big deal. Like if you could roll sevens basically in your post,
Mhm.
and um, and sevens are also like the God number. Like I've had the number 777 programmed into my phone for at least a decade, and
Mhm.
just the name says God.
Mhm.
Like it's just like that's just like the God number 7. Um, So I had the campaign on the screen, Trump and Hillary.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal back then at that exact moment. You also had, I think I had on that screen, it's kind of blurry, but one of them is a Silk Road screen. It's kind of like the pink screen version.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. I should release a sub asset with the actual like high res card because it is there's a lot of Easter eggs in that card for sure. And in the pizza boxes because Pizzagate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have the card in front of me, but
Yeah, I see.
And then you got like the troll faces. I had like kind of famous memes in the back wall that were popular within times, kind of paying homage to that. And then the boy praying in front of the posters has a troll head on, and at that time the troll movie had just come out as well, or just coming out. So I, gave that to it as well.
That's cool. And I mean, speaking of Silk Road, I mean, it's really a travesty what happened to Ross, the guy who was running that. And I know there's a fake Rare that kind of is trying to bring some attention of that. But so Ross was considered the mastermind of Silk Road, which is the first really decentralized like marketplace, anonymous marketplace where you could pay with crypto for whatever really you wanted, right? And the scandal is that it turned into a political prosecution after he was caught. There's so many levels of malfeasance in the way the government handled that. From they basically broke the chain of evidence for the like how they presented the case. They tried to prove that he was the only admin, and then it's come out after the fact that there were at least 2 or 3 other people that had those rights. FBI agents stole Bitcoin. There's a ton of malfeasance there, and he's ended up with multiple life sentences basically. I mean, he
got double life plus 20 or something like
that.
Yeah, they had murder charges that they erased afterwards. Like they took them off record, and it's funny. Like that album I made back in 2014 that kind of got me into Bitcoin was called Silk Road. So I actually used to have a news page where it was called Flipboard. It was an app back in the day that people got news on specific things. So I ran a Flipboard page about Silk Road that had tons of subscribers. So any type of thing that came in there, I would post it up there. And I got super involved in learning about that case back then as well. It's a tragedy. I'm actually friends with Lynn, his mom nowadays, and I see how it like affects her. And I mean, it runs her life. I don't, you can say a lot of things like for sure about the case, like, maybe Ross was a little bit out of pocket, of course, for like trying to run a site like that and thinking that he was going to be all good. But the time, since then, there's been many other dark web cases and they get slaps on the wrist, like comparatively, like they made an example of him for fighting the case. Like the feds don't want you to fight against them. That's why when they do fight them, they throw books and books at you, especially when you're like the first precedent, because they don't want anything else to come. So like they made an example of Ross to try to make it so nobody else could, run this type of software on the internet. Or if you did, they'd be like, this is what's going to happen to you. And I think it's terrible because I don't think the picture they painted of Ross in the Silk Road is as evil as obviously as they make it out to be.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Lynn several years ago, and it was really staggering the amount of malfeasance and I mean, especially the government going and breaking the rules in so many different ways where it's just another example of centralized power that being corrupt, that you can't. What's the redress for Ross and his family? Nothing, because the redress is going through the same court that was bent, right?
Exactly.
You're screwed. So anyway, I really feel for the guy. Again, it's a terrible, it's a tragedy what happened to him. But
yeah, he's on, he's in a place with killers and gang, gang cartel leaders, and the the guy that lit his shoe on fire in the airplane.
yeah.
Like, just seems like a different place. Like, for such a, the guy's obviously smart. If he did do something bad that the government wasn't happy with, sure, you could have, refocused his stuff into other things that could be very helpful, like, even, or, I don't know. You just wasted a guy's life who's obviously super smart. Like, somebody that can do that, period, and make it to that scale, obviously has something to bring to this world. And now he's just in a box, like, ruining his mind and family and the idea of liberty and freedoms, and just
one thing that was an eye-opener for me too is I remember reading that, back in Nazi Germany back in the day, they had this famous judge. It was basically a judge for show trials, essentially, where the conviction rate was something like, I think it was like 96.7 or something like that. And then, but to your point, I read later on recently that essentially the conviction rate in U.S. federal court is like 99.6 or something. It's,
oh wow.
I mean, it's incredible. Like, if they go to full, like you said, full press court, I mean, again, the government has essentially unlimited resources. So, in a case like, and again, for Ross, but like, he never had a chance. I mean, anyway, I guess.
I think they could have. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I think they offered him, I want to say 15 or 20 years in a plea, which,
okay.
I think that's what it was. So, like, and that's what they do in these cases. They don't want to put all the resources and da. They're just. I might be wrong in that, but they offered him a plea deal. Whatever the case, it wasn't. I don't think it was life in jail. So he could have accepted some kind of a plea and known that he was going to be free again. But he was obviously had conviction that he was going to win, and didn't do it. So he wanted to, like, take that, which is crazy. I have friends as well that have been in trouble, and the plea deal is like, oh, we'll give you 15 years, or we'll give you 5 years, but then if you fight it, you're looking at this. And that's what they do. They hold this over your head with that conviction rate. It's like, you really want to battle me?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's really, it's
terrifying.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's terrifying. It is.
Yeah, so I guess sorry for taking it down that
nice tangent though.
Yeah, a little dark, but so in a similarly, Bully Pepe is your next card. And I remember when this happened, when it was what was the guy's name? The Diamond, right? Jamie Dimon came out and essentially was smack talking Bitcoin at the time. And I see that there's you have a bunch of Pepes that are falling in that. I noticed that one of them is like the Nakamoto. I don't know. Couldn't catch the rest of them, but
yeah, I can't remember which ones were falling. It was like a play on Silence of the Lambs and
oh yeah, I see
that scene, and Jamie Dimon, and yeah, just kind of like, it's memeing Jamie Dimon a little bit, and how he was Buffalo Bill, like this mass murderer, and because he's bank cartel.
Yeah. And one thing that I thought was astonishing at the time too is that, like, anyone actually cared what he thought enough to, I mean, when he said it moved the market, the Bitcoin market. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who cares what, like you said, whatever.
There's speculators that are not, that don't care about Bitcoin, just care about making money, that it moves the market on them. And yeah, it's, yeah, that was a fun card to make. I haven't done a ton of distribution with that card. And I think the card total is 666, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Like that, again, like a lot of us Pepe artists, like, once we started getting into it, like, we really use the issuance number as like part of the art, and that's part of the art on that one.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's one of the ones when I was first getting into Pepe's that really stuck out to me. So I always liked that one. I didn't know that it was a kind of a play on that Silence of the Lambs, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually a scene of Clarice. I just pepped her out, and she's
Mhm.
in Buffalo Bill's downstairs
Mhm.
walking through. And then I didn't take Buffalo Bill, actually. I just took Jamie Dimon. I put some
Mhm.
kind of like
Yeah.
Photoshop mask on him
Mhm.
as like the Buffalo Bill character. So
Mhm.
we'll open to some interpretation. You gotta definitely know the movie a little bit.
Yeah. Um, well, great. Yeah, so that's a cool one. That's one of my favorites. So moving on to your next card is PWA, Pepe's with Attitude.
Wow, that's what number card is that? Like my 8th or 9th card in the set?
They count. So we've got, oh no, you've got one, four.
That feels like one of my first cards. It's funny. Um, yeah, that was a card that I was super proud of when I made it. Like I think I really put a
Mhm.
good effort in the drawing on that. Um, that's when the art was really starting to step up. So I
Mhm.
felt like I had to really come with it. And I don't know, like me and Sean have talked about it, Sean Leary, but I sold him the original drawing and I made a 1 of 1
Mhm.
issuance of that back in 2016.
Mhm.
And he's actually still wondering and asked me from time to time, he's like, is this the first 1 of 1 physical with the NFT that was sold? And I have no idea, but I sold him that drawing for $300,
Oh, sweet.
but it was $1 million in Pepe cash.
Okay.
He paid me $1 million in Pepe cash at the time.
Mhm.
Then I I used that as a talking point going forward because Pepe Cash skyrocketed shortly
Mhm.
after that, and I was trying to show artists like you can accept these forms of payment that maybe like 300. That's what I was making. I was charging people $300 for cover art back then
Mhm.
and stuff like that, and um, it was like that turned into a lot more money than
Mhm.
$300 just by holding that Pepe Cash.
Yeah, so
And
that's making the case to accept crypto instead of dollars. Yeah.
exactly, especially during that time. That was the beginning of
Mhm.
the bull run,
Mhm.
a year and a half long bull run. Pepe Cash was not worth, well, like I said, a million Pepe Cash was worth $300, but I think at one time a million Pepe Cash was probably worth at least like close to 10 Bitcoin
Mhm.
during the bull run.
Mhm.
I don't think I held it for that long to sell for that, but it was just an interesting thing on that. And yeah, that's one of my favorite cards. It's
Mhm.
issuance 187. Again, memeable number. Like all the stat line is 187 because that was like the police scanner number for a homicide in California.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a big gangster rap fan, and that
Mhm.
was just part of that whole thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's a rad card. Like, and to your point, yeah, you made a really good job at the pepifying the faces of these guys.
Mm, thanks.
Yeah, and your next one is Pepe Marauder, a tribe
Yeah.
called Pepe.
Yeah. So that one actually might be my favorite card I've made.
Mhm.
That's like one of my top 5 albums of all
Mhm.
time, Midnight Marauders by Tribe
Mhm.
Called Quest. I think it sums up like a lot of things where Pepe's, I was trying to show unity in Pepe and how
Mhm.
anybody can be into Pepe's. It's diverse. It's not fucking any alt-right thing, especially back at that time period. I think people were trying to call Pepe alt-right. So I definitely wanted to like throw that out there. And
Mhm.
that infamous album cover that I kind of copied the style of. Like in the original album cover, you had that that same character, not pepified,
Mhm.
um, and then you had in the background you had all the famous hip hop people at the time in the background, all their faces. So I kind of like restyled their faces as Pepe's,
Mhm.
and I took an original poster. The essence for the design didn't come from the album cover, even though it's
Mhm.
similar to the album cover. There's actually a poster for their promo run back in the day that I kind of like, where it says at the bottom about I forget the saying that it has right there, but that saying was written in the poster as well.
Mhm.
And I think you know, yeah, that's a card that definitely actually, I just, for the Bitcoin conference
Mhm.
coming up in a couple of weeks, I just pressed up a poster sized version of that card
Cool.
to distribute some prints and stuff.
Mhm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And your next one is 3D Pepe, which I'm curious what the what the inspiration for that was.
That was kind of just like Pepe family, but it was like it was funny. It's just like
Mhm.
I think I was just doodling. And I drew 3D Pepe, and I
Mhm.
thought it like the letters looked cool, and I was like, I just drew that really quick with a pink
Yeah.
mark.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? There's not been a 3D. Like
Mhm.
people were trying to do innovative things at this point with the
Yeah.
Pepe. So I was like, there was not a 3D Pepe. You needed 3D
Mhm.
glasses to look at it. So I just quickly made it with marker. Like there was no intent. Like I didn't sketch anything out or anything. I
Yeah.
just quickly drew it, and then I just had the kid flick off like a
Mhm.
family photo, and I did some kind of janky Photoshop in the background of the sky and put it out. And when I put it out, the initial distribution was pretty good. It was people like I was showing people like you put on 3D glasses and looked at
Mhm.
it. It's 3D Pepe, and that was really all that card was about, was kind of being a 3D Pepe.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then also the issuance of the art on that one as well with 333.
Yeah.
And actually going back to the Pepe Marauder, the same thing.
Yeah.
The issuance at first was 192 because
Mhm.
that was the street that they talk about in the songs.
Mhm.
And I actually burnt down that card to 92 in an auction for the original drawing
Mhm.
that I think Joe Looney and Token Angels were battling out. I think
Mhm.
Joe Looney ended up winning it, but every whatever 1 million sats that got bid up, I destroyed 10 of the cards. So that's why there's 92 issuance now.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Um, yeah, and yeah, I didn't realize that Token Angels was involved so early on too.
No, so this is later on. Like this is last year when I sold
Okay.
the original drawing of it.
Okay.
That's when I started doing that with that.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I actually bought my my CryptoPunk from Token Angel, believe it or
Oh,
not.
nice.
Yeah, I know, right? What a random thing. Um, Token Angel is one of the most prolific collector dealers out there right now. It's
He's responsible for starting the bull run in Pepe's. To be honest with you, the
Mhm.
new one in late 20, early 2021. Because
Mhm.
funny enough, the little tangent is I was talking to the owner of the Homer Pepe for years. Like every once in a while, he'd message me and tell me that he's trying to like in the market to sell the Homer Pepe. Da, da, da. And Matt Kane, who's a well-known crypto artist, put out a piece on a tribute piece to Homer Pepe on
Mhm.
Super Rare. And in the comment section, I wrote something like, "Oh, funny enough, Peter Kell just contacted me about trying to sell this Pepe, and Token Angels immediately DM'd me,
Mhm.
and then that's when we made the deal. I helped facilitate that getting to him, and then he bought a bunch of Pepes through some other collectors that were selling, and that's when I think, him and some of the CryptoPunk people started really getting into it, and then it kind of snowballed as NFTs blew up. But he definitely was like a catalyst to that,
Yeah,
major
interesting.
catalyst.
Yeah, and he ended up. I think it was. Didn't he end up selling the Pepinopolis last year as well? I mean,
Yeah, so he bought
mhm.
4 of the one-on-ones in that early. uh yeah, amazing dude. He's a serious collector. He got them for very good deals as well. Like at the time, I mean, people weren't buying Pepe's as much, so he took a risk, but
Yeah, for sure.
he definitely a risk that paid off.
I don't know. Regardless of the price, I don't think I could unload a 101 Pepe. So that's just me, though. A degenerate
Yeah,
collector.
this person was ready to get out of Pepe's and onto some other stuff, and
Mhm.
she had a huge collection of rare cards, and yeah, I don't know.
The pain, right?
Yeah, I need to check up on her.
Yeah. I so your next card that that you created is kind of a play. I remember there was a bunch of maxis back in the day that called we're calling Ethereum like Metherium, or calling it meth. So it's Rich Pepe, Poor Pepe, which also kind of a play on that Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was a play on that. Just making fun of Ethereum. That was right after. I think that was. Did that card? I can't remember if that was right after the DAO hack, or if it was just a play on the DAO hack. When was the DAO hack? It must have been
This is
2016.
December 2016, so that's around that era.
Yeah, it was probably a couple months after the DAO hack.
Yeah.
And again, like I think people were, Ethereum was on a bull run then.
Mhm.
Or no, it hadn't even started the bull run. If it's, yeah, it was. Yeah, it started. Ethereum started going on a bull run in early January 16. I remember it was his first bull run. I don't know. I think I was becoming more Bitcoin maxi. I definitely was becoming more Bitcoin maxi in by late 2016, for sure. And I was just flexing that. You know what? It's funny. That's what it is. There was a podcast back in the day called Bitcoin Uncensored.
Yeah.
And there was also a chat we were in called the Coin Dojo. And I swear, like, so after coming from the troll box, where you definitely get like you get your like internet like talking game on point, because you could get you can get crushed in a troll box by people. So you kind of develop skills to like really succeed at that, I think. But then in the Coin Dojo, which was run by the Bitcoin Censored guys, and Sean Leary was the moderator there, and you got invited to it. You couldn't just join it. It was like everybody was in there. I mean, Vitalik was in there at one point. Tone Vague, everybody that is anybody in crypto was in that chat during that time. But many of them rage quit the chat and left because it was no holds barred. Like I can't describe how like you had to have your chops cut. Like if you were going to talk in that chat, you'd been ready for a shitstorm, because there was nothing being held back. Like it's like it was a mixture of like posturing, like super posturing to like see who was like the most smart Bitcoin and crypto person, period. It was super Bitcoin maxi. It was very knowledgeable, very memetic, and the guys also supported Pepe Cash and Rare Pepes, which was funny because on their podcast they hated on everything. I mean everything. So that all kind of came from that mindset of me being in there. I think I started developing a lot more of that rationale, like because there was a lot of super like intelligent conversations in between all the posturing and memeing. Like it, I mean, like I said, the heads of everybody was in there, and they were talking like very intelligent stuff. Some stuff like way over my head at the time. So that's why it says like the names in there. I think John Carvalho was Bitcoin Airlog at the time, so I made him Pepe Airlog, and he was always in that chat like discussing, Bitcoin is the only thing, blah blah blah, and written by Dan Dark Pepe, which is Dan Dark Pill, who was super Bitcoin maxi, and that's the story of that one. Is just kind of like the hate for Ethereum, and especially in that chat in the Bitcoin Uncensored community, that was a card more like tailored towards them.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's cool.
And it says hedges and Pepe Cash and hedges and voxels. That wasn't crypto voxels back in the day. Crypto voxels wasn't out. There was a shit coin called voxels, VOX, that this one company owned like 99% of it. It was like a shitty, scammy ICO, like the worst, but had a ton of marketing. So it actually references that, just to be clear.
It's funny, I was looking back. I used to be pretty open-minded, and I still am, but in terms of all these different cryptos at the time, because I ultimately thought that there'd be some of these other alts that would, if not take the throne, they'd be serious contenders. And man, the guys who are maxis on either ETH or Bitcoin as of today are totally winning, because the graveyard of all of these, even promising altcoins that just, man, survivorship bias, man. There's so few that are in the top 10 anymore. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that I think Ripple has finally dropped out of the top 10, but I mean, anyway.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
I think so. I don't really follow prices anymore because I don't really, I'm kind of out of crypto now. So
It's funny, man. I too, like, I used to have, Coin Market Cap, and
yeah.
later on CoinGecko,
Yeah.
checked it 20 times a day. I was just thinking to myself how I have no idea what's going on. I recently looked at CoinGecko app, and I used to have like all my favorites and like coins that I had in like but now you have to like log in to do that. So I just abandoned that back then whenever that happened. And yeah, I sold most of my shit coins. Like, I still have a couple bags of shit coins that I just, they're just somewhere. And if they ever do anything, if they go to 0 or 100, it's fine. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, even as a Bitcoin, I always try to trade shit coins to earn more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. Like, it's been, I think the last time I traded that in that way was like during like DeFi summer a couple of years ago. But I haven't yet.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, like one of the like terrible examples is I made a bunch of terrible moves with crypto. Like, I bought, in 2012, I bought some Namecoin and like Corkcoin, some of those things that, like today, I think I paid $1 or $2 per Namecoin at the time. And today, like I just looked it up last week, it's like $1 or $2 again. I mean, it's like, I should, the regret, man, I should have put that into Bitcoin, right? But
yeah, $1 or $2, and like, but the Bitcoin value of it is totally different.
At that time, Bitcoin was $25. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's when Namecoin used to trade for like 0.01 Bitcoin or something. I remember that. Yeah, my brother got into Bitcoin at one point back in the day, and he bought it. He bought a bunch of Ultra Coin, I think, or something like that. And like that scared him out of the scene. He's like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here."
Let's talk about Pepe Tang Clan, the Preem.
Yeah, so that one actually was originally, I made it, and the asset was called Preem. I think I made it divisible or something messed up, so then I ended up calling it Pepe Tang Clan. So
okay.
Again, that's one where the numbers are the meme, 360 issuance, and 360 degrees is a big thing in Pepe and Wu-Tang. I mean, yeah, it's just the Wu-Tang Clan is like super iconic. I just had to Pepe them out. Big fan of Wu-Tang. It's probably my favorite group of all time. So yeah, that's all that one was. Pepe Cash, it was an easy one to meme because Cream Cash rules everything around me, and Pepe Cash rules everything around me was kind of the meme on that one. I've used that Ghostface Killer in the bottom right with the bird. I've used that as like a Telegram meme and other memes for years, so that's kind of played like a role past that. And like the Raekwon has a Snow Beach jacket on, which is like an iconic fashion item in the hip hop world. Yeah, that was a fun one to make.
Yeah, it's great. I love the colors on it too. It turned out.
Yeah, I put the black and yellow in there. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's rad. Again, I love the colors on that. And your next one is pepe.com, which is has kim.com on the front, which also features another him holding your PWA card and also holding a Pepe Cash card too.
Yeah, so that was that's one I drew of kim.com, and at the time, it's funny, that card, if you read in the description on Exchange, I made 10,000 of them, I think. And then if Bitcoin's price got to a certain amount by the end of the year, then the idea was to destroy all but 5 cards that I would hold. So that card, yeah, I think it was $2,000 was the price I had to get to. By was it end of 2016 maybe? Do you have the Exchange?
Yeah, let me pull that up real quick. Yeah,
it says it in the Exchange link in the description part. So like that was the first of its kind of a card of its kind where it had like a pre-structured burn game, kind of like a game theory in it, where you bought the card knowing that there's 10,000 of them, but there might be a destruction if Bitcoin, if you had belief that Bitcoin was going to get into a certain price. I think it was 2000.
Kind of gamifying it, really.
Yeah, 100%. It was like that type of asset, and the point was that it's kind of, what does it say on there?
So if Bitcoin reaches 2,000 USD in 2017 on Bitfinex, Bitstamp, or Kraken, then the unsold Pepe.coms will be burned, minus a 5-card founder's fee for the creator. Really rad.
Yeah. So I got towards the end of that year, actually, I guess in 2017, then that's when the majority of them got distributed. And so there ended up being like 90 some distributed total before I burnt them. And that was a play on Kim.com back then of him being into Bitcash, which was Bit CACHE. It was like a cache type of thing, like one of these like coins, shit coins he was going to release.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. No, I know that. And again, I've been out of the crypto scene for a while, for a minute, but a couple years ago when I was still following the scene, I know he was talking about releasing a new product that would use Bitcoin Cash. Like I think it was K.im, like basically I don't know, another media type platform that would utilize Bitcoin Cash, but I don't think anything ever happened with that. So
yeah, and this was around a time that he did probably a predecessor to that one, and that's all it was. Like, I think Kim.com is just like a meme digital person, like iconic. So I just wanted to put him in the set, and it was kind of making fun of him a little bit, but also I think Kim.com is super smart too. So it was kind of like poking fun at him. Because again, like people come in and it's like the meme is, I just heard about Bitcoin, I'm here to fix it. And that was kind of like all these people always come in and have something better than Bitcoin or Ethereum or something. So
you say that, and that really is, it's a meme, but it was so true, at least back then when I was following the scene, is that you had so many people come in and, oh dude, I totally know the one thing that'll fix Bitcoin, and and they're all in the graveyard now,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good times. So your next Pepe is, before we move on to that, I mean, is that a photo that you then or did you actually draw that?
Yeah, I drew that.
That's a really great drawing. I mean, it's a great likeness. So
yeah, so like I said, you can see, I think that my drawing skills mostly get better over time, especially to now. I consider myself pretty good. But back then I was still kind of like just shitting around and learning on some of these cards.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a great, like I said, I had to ask because it's really close to being a photo. So that's awesome.
No, there was no tracing involved. That's straight drawing. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love the expression on his face too. So yeah, that's great. So your next one is Vice Pepe. You want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, so that's a card made of a card. So somebody made a card that you see on that card, but Vice magazine published an article. They used his card, it's Bench's card, I forget the name of it. They used it as like the front page of it. So all I did was just take, that's really like a
white paper Pepe, I think is what it is, right?
Yeah. So they used that card so all I did was screen capture that article to preserve it. So it's kind of like what's that? There's a chain thing on, what the fuck is it called? They do that. They basically, on Ethereum, they capture anything on the internet and make it a meme and mint it. It's like I've seen like DJPEPE on there, and they capture it, and then, oh man, I forget what it's called, but meme.com is what does it now. It's the same people that did it.
Okay.
Anyway, that's kind of what I did. I was just capturing a moment in time to show that Vice magazine wrote about Rare Pepes. And if you look at the dates, though, that's the most important thing on that card.
Yeah.
Is the top left. Look at the numbers. It's 777. So like Vice, it was on the date. I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's January 27th of 2017 at 7 a.m. is a publication date.
Yeah, so like they rolled 777s on that article, and that was like part of the whole meme of Pepe's is like rolling sevens. So yeah, that's like a marble card. That's what it's called. People, so like, there's like these marble cards in Ethereum, and I don't know if this
Marble
predates
cards.
marble.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, where you make an NFT of even like random websites and stuff.
Exactly.
It's weird.
Yeah. So this is, I think this predates marble cards. That's pretty much what I was doing. I was marbling the idea. It, just in case they ever took it down, it was just a big thing for us to have Vice covering Pepe's.
Yeah, that's rad. Yeah, that's cool. And it has the what was that? I think it's Craig Wright that is the guy in the card that, you know, he was trying to claim that he's Nakamoto, man, and that's the story that just keeps going on. I can't believe people still like pay him any heed. It's amazing.
And he's back on Twitter now. I saw.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had these lawsuits going on for years, and you know, the amount of shucking and jiving for not having the private keys is truly incredible. You know.
I wonder if he's just all doing it for tax evasion purposes of whatever he owns. I don't know. There's something weird going on.
You know, I've kind of suspected that he might even be being paid just as a distraction for like kind of taking focus off Bitcoin, discredit it too. I mean, we know that governments have done some nefarious stuff against the crypto, so wouldn't put it past them.
Absolutely.
Oh, and your next card is Rare Ivanka, which
yeah. That was just a play on, you know, obviously Ivanka Trump, and I forget. There was a reason I put the ice cream thing. I can't remember right now, but that's, you know, Ivanka is like a beautiful lady, you know, and she's also, you know, was a Trumper. Like I was not a Trumper, so I was just kind of like making fun of that in a way, in a way that was like, either it was kind of not teasing her, but not, you know, I don't know. It was kind of like a play on just like politics. Like I have this heavy thought, and I like ice cream. Like it's like. You know?
I know what you mean. It's tough to make that balance when you're not partisan, you know, to still like riff on politics without people, you know, misinterpreting it, you know, because like so many people are like, they get really binary about that stuff and get caught up in it.
Yeah, and I think she's like a super smart woman, to be honest with you. Like, and you know, she commanded attention and stuff in a way that her dad couldn't. So it was just kind of to celebrate her as like a figure at that time, and you know, that's kind
part
of
of the zeitgeist. Yeah,
exactly.
And your next card is Napalm Pepe, which is really sick. It you know, back in the, what was it, late 80s, early 90s, they had these garbage pail kids. So I'm assuming this is a riff on that, right?
Yeah, so I'd always thought of Rare Pepes, even from when I first jumped in, as like the garbage pail kids of crypto art. It was taking celebrities and memeing them out, or taking iconic or zeitgeist and like doing stuff to them. So, you know, in my mind, garbage pail kids was that. You know, they took, you know, famous things and put it to their a lot of times famous things, and you know, kind of memed them out a little bit. So that was just my way of kind of interpreting this set as garbage pail kids. And I had planned to do a set of Pepe Pail kids, and I only ended up doing 2.
Okay.
But you know, that's a play on basically like Atom Bomb and Napalm Nakamoto. So it was like the giant bomb. and you know, it's got Pepe Cash and stuff blowing out of his head, and women adore him. Yeah, so that was another, like, I drew that by hand, the original, and then colored in with Photoshop. So yeah, that's that one.
It's fun. I love the detail with the you know, you can make out some of the individual cards that are flying around there. Like you've got the Naka and you've got, looks like a Pepe Cash, and I can't make out the others, but you know, it's a fun card for sure.
Yeah, there's a Putin Pepe, I think, in there, and a Club Pepe.
Okay.
And again, like, that's where the resolution on these, like,
Mhm.
it doesn't do it entire justice on some of these cards. But yeah, that one's actually become like, and that's another one I issued 300 of,
Mhm.
same as the Rare Pepe,
Mhm.
because it kind of is like the poor man's Rare Pepe. It's like, you
Mhm.
can't get a Rare Pepe, you know, I think the community has started to call that the poor man
Poor
Rare
man's
Pepe.
Naka. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. You know, and speaking of, I've been curious about this. So since we've been talking about your process, do you guys, do most of the artists keep the original digital before that they use to submit? Like, did you keep most of your original art that you
I
used?
have most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I've sold some of the original art, and then some of it I still have. In fact, at the Bitcoin conference, I've got a couple of them right here. Hold on. Yeah, just handy right now. I did the Rare Pepe wallet logo.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
I'm framing that in like a, you know, gold frame to show. I'm not selling it yet, but
Mhm.
I've actually got some prints that I'm selling at the conference, that's
Okay.
the computer prints that are 11 by 11.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have most of my stuff still.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's something you can definitely definitely fun to look back on, especially, I mean, you know, we're already, you know, what, 7-ish years after creation. I mean, imagine another 10 years, you know, that the flex to have the original artwork behind some of these cards is going to be cool.
For sure. Yeah. It's funny. I went down to the framer store recently, or yesterday actually, to get some of the stuff framed for the
Mhm.
conference. And the guys, like, you know, they're always asking questions about, like, what the hell is this frog
Mhm.
stuff you guys are doing? The guy, Sean Leary, lives around me too, but not in my neighborhood. He actually lives a little bit of ways, but he ended up using my framer by my house,
Mhm.
apparently, because when I went in there, he's like, does another guy do this? Like, because it looks exactly like your drawings that you came and got framed the other day. And I was like, oh yeah, he bought a couple of the original drawings off me. And
That's awesome.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
there's going to be some Pepe art at that conference for sure.
that's awesome. And I understand we're going to have some Nakamoto news there too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that'll be fun.
Big news.
Mhm. And so following up from Napalm Pepe, it looks like you have one of the like your MF Pepe, which is, it looks like it's a Pepe Pale Kids on the top. But what, you want to discuss that one a little bit?
Yeah, so that's actually a play on, that's MF Doom. It's an iconic picture of MF Doom, who's a real cultish famous rapper who died last year actually. He always wore a Doom mask when he rapped, and
Mhm.
he got so popular that he would perform shows and not even go, as somebody else would be wearing his Doom mask, and it became part of his, like, his thing.
The stick, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to celebrate MF Doom with that card. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, I don't know, but there's a lot of MF Doom fans and Pepe's. He's really like a super underground rapper that
Mhm.
became pretty damn popular for being as underground as he was. He's super dope. But like, he had songs on, like, the in betweens on Adult Swim and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
it'd be like him rapping. Like, he's been referenced in a ton of, like, pop media,
Mhm.
pop art, and just a super, like, legendary person that I think would probably love Rare Pepes, really, if he discovered him. But
Mhm.
he passed away, and I think it was right after October of 2020,
Mhm.
shortly after that.
Okay, that's too bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Now I'll have to look up his work. I never listened to him before.
yeah. He's got quite a story.
Mhm. Um, You know, and another great hip hop one is your Run the Pepe, you know.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorites, man. Like I really like how that GIF came out too. It was like probably one of my better GIFs in the set. And I just took a run, you know, back then especially they were really popping as a group, LP and Killer Mike coming together, and you know they're again from two different worlds and made this iconic like, you know, they're still running right now, but they had a real iconic run in kind of underground niche hip hop, and everybody was memeing that Run the Jewels hands, you know what I mean? Like I just had to do it for Pepe's, and you know, I like how that one came out.
Yeah, that's cool. I love the transition on the, like you said, on the GIF. Turned out really well. And your next one is one that you know, we're kind of delving a little bit into criminal justice and whatnot. Is the Skrilla, or I don't know how you pronounce his name, Skrilla.
Yeah, Rare Pepe or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another like moment just to capture him, and he was all over the news at that time. He made enemies by stalking that, I forget the lady's name, Laura Dern or whatever. I put in the top of the card.
Oh, I didn't know he was stalking someone. Okay.
Yeah, like I'm picking up stalking. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then Ghostface Killer and him had beef.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Because I think so he bought the Wu-Tang album.
Yeah, he did.
And then he was going on live streams and playing some of the songs and stuff. So he was doing a lot of live streams at that time and like really becoming like a household name and like getting like a bit of a fan base, you know, especially amongst like you know, kind of computer people. But then he also tried to portray this like hip hop image that is just really baffling because he's just, like this rich kid that you know, I don't know, but at the same time, like he like hired like goons, like he was just becoming crazy. He hired like goons from like, you know, the streets and stuff, and like protect them. And he was really trying to live that hip hop life. He was gonna put out a hip hop album, I think.
Oh, no way. He really must have been losing it.
Yeah, he's kind of out of control, and yeah, I just kind of try to capture that moments like the police bringing him in are like, you know, feels police. I kind of use like the feels guy for that.
Yeah.
And I think Shakreli kind of represented the Pepe spirit a bit because he was just such an outcast, and that's why I turned him into a Pepe. And he, you know, again, like I have mixed opinions about Shakreli. I think I enjoy characters. Like that's kind of why I celebrate. Like he was a character. Like he's not somebody I would probably like hang out with or any of that. And I don't really respect some of his views. But at the same time, just his whole being and presence at that time period, I just felt it necessary to kind of capture that moment. And then again, like, you know, the criminal justice walking Pepe in is part of that, like a double entendre in that, because Pepe was kind of under fire.
Yeah. I also thought he was a fascinating character. I thought it was interesting that, you know, because he was wealthy at the time. I mean, I don't know whether I don't know. He had a lot of money by our like you and me standards, you know. But one thing I thought was amazing to watch that play out, though, is that he didn't have he wasn't savvy enough to realize that, again, like we were talking about with Ross, is that if the system wants you, even in the US, they're going to get you. And he, you know, when the media started going after him, he thumbed his nose at the system. And, you know, ultimately that's really what got him. You know, he could have, all he had to do is handle it differently in terms of how he addressed that, and he wouldn't be in jail. But he put that target on himself, and they got him, you know. And I'm not.
He was so arrogant and so like beyond neurotic, man. It was just amazing to watch that all play out. I agree.
Yeah, and I'm not celebrating the fact that it happened. I'm just saying that you know, that's the reality of how it works. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
We can be naive and think that the justice system is impartial, but that's definitely not. So
Right. And he learned that.
yeah, he sure did. I mean, and again, it's a perfect example. Even him with all the millions of dollars, he went down.
Yeah.
He tried to fight it. So, but too late.
And he was one of those. He was one of those traders too. He was killing it trading, and he made so much money. Again in our terms, and got bored of it. It's almost like he just like started just like trying to do anything to like free up his board. I don't know what it was, man. He just got this charisma. I don't know, charisma is not the right word. He just got this like character he made and just became it, and like really like left field with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he achieved the, for a lot of people, money is the ultimate goal, and he achieved that goal, and I think he kind of like wondered what now, and he didn't have a plan.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, interesting. Well, that's fun talking about that one. And Pepe Source is the last of your OGs that were accepted into the project, which is really rad because it's cataloging. Several of your cards are in there. There's a couple other artist cards in there. Although I suspect that maybe these are some that you collaborated on. Did you do the Easy P Pepe? Did you do the artwork for that?
I did the Boys to Pepe.
Okay.
I did that one. Yeah, that one is just again like Pepe was under fire, especially in I think this around. What year did I make? Did I make that in late 2017?
Let me see. It is. Yeah, it's July 2017.
Okay, wow. So that was like just Pepe being under fire. And I kind of like, there was a Source magazine, which is like the hip hop periodical of the 90s.
Yeah.
Kind of the Bible. And they cataloged one time where rappers were under fire by prison system and police. And I just literally parodied that album cover.
Okay.
And just try to put some Easter eggs in there with like, Jihan Wu and DJPEPE and Jay-Z hooking up and just funny stuff like that. Again, that's one where like the higher res version, I probably should like release that as a sub ASIC. Like
that would be rad. Yeah.
Yeah. It does get a little blurry in that 400 by 560.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys, some of these artists kept the originals, but yeah, because that's a great idea, is releasing that as a sub asset, because I mean, you can tell that anyway. Yeah, it just gets lost in that,
Yeah. And then I guess if that's my last original Pepe, huh?
Yeah, that's the last that was in the OG collection.
So I did the Clockwork Orange Pepe.
Yeah, the Clockwork Green. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that was one that like Buddha hired me to do. Which that's probably like my best drawing in that whole set.
It's really great. Yeah, I didn't know you did it, but that's one and it's still really affordable now too. I picked one of those up.
Yeah. And then I actually made a super rare piece with it too, a 1 of 1 that I animated it.
Oh, cool.
Which I think was one of the first or second Pepe on super rare. And then I did the Boys to Pepe one, and I did the X Chain Pepe one for J Dog.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And I think that I thought I did 30 or 31 Pepes. I have to go through them all, but
when these commissions, did they tell you what they wanted, or did they just give you free reign to do something?
No, all three of those commissions were definitely like they wanted something that specific. Like they wanted, well, J Dog wanted X Chain Pepe, and I came up with that one. And then Buddha wanted the Clockwork Orange, something to do with it, and I came up with taking the original poster, and just memeing that out. And then Sean Boys to Pepe. I think he even told me like for like the bottom part, like put some sushi as one of the powers and some of the other stuff. So, and the year, like the issuance with that one was like the year that Boys to Men was popular. I think it was like 1991 or 2. So that's how many issued.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Did so I was talking to another artist recently, and they I think they were telling me that they only did one commission, that they just really like doing their own thing. Is that kind of your experience too? You just did a few and you're, yeah.
Yeah, it was more like helping them out, honestly. That's all it was. Like J-Dog was respected, you know, ran XCP, so like doing it for him was you know, almost an honor back then, like to do that card for him. And then Sean was is a friend of mine, and he wanted a Boys to Pepe, and he had always supported my cards a lot, so of course I helped him with that. And yeah, Buddha again was a big guy in the community that, you know, doing a card for him, I don't know, he was a good way. Buddha is always a slick talker. He could always get you to so I definitely did that for Buddha. And then I feel like there was one or two other cards. I gotta go through the set. I thought I did 30 or 31 cards.
Let me, well, I've got Pepe WTF up. That may not be accurate then.
Yeah, they only do the ones that I minted from certain addresses.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah, I think
there's
there's 26 cataloged on there, and they don't catalog any of the ones that were commissioned.
Okay, so I'm counting out 4, 8, 12.
So I guess 29 by my count right now. I thought I did 30 or 31.
So there's 26 that are listed under your artist profile. So it looks like we're missing a few.
Yeah. Well, that's the ones that the ones, because those aren't listed under my profile. Those commissioned ones.
Yeah.